All right, family, let's get into it. We know what's going on, what's happening, why we're here. Uh, of course, a verdict was released earlier today. Diddy was acquitted on three counts of the most severe charges, which was the racketeering aspect, the Rico, and the sex trafficking, or ex trafficking, I should say. I don't care if they ding me here, of Cassie Ventura and Jane Doe, but he was found guilty on two violations of the Mann Act, which is the prostitution aspect. And Judge Subparmanian earlier today, they were going to have a conference in regards to considering bail, a bail consideration. Well, it has just been revealed, courtesy of ABC News and other outlets, that the judge just a few minutes ago denied bail for Sean Diddy Combs. Now,
verdict earlier today when the jury
I'll play
acquitted
this
him
so
of
fair
the most
use.
serious
Hold on.
charges of racketeering and conspiracy and sex trafficking.
Make
But
sure
the
y'all
jury did
sharing
find him
this, ladies
guilty
and
on those two
gentlemen.
counts of transportation to engage in prostitution. We're going to return you in just a moment here to regular programming. Our coverage does continue on ABC News Live and abcnews.com. Also, a programming note, an ABC News special report, Verdict, the Diddy trial, airs tonight at 10 Eastern right here. And then I'll be back with our entire team for a full wrap-up on World News Tonight. I'm Wade Johnson in New York. Have a great day.
This has been a special report from ABC.
That didn't take long. So usually with these sentences, and what happens is that they will typically give. I'll just let this guy. They will give
denying bail for the rap
well,
mogul
we'll
just hours after a jury acquitted him of the most serious offenses he had been facing. We're also learning that the judge has set a sentencing date for Friday, October 3rd, later this year. The judge cited Combs' domestic violence as part of the justification for his continued detention there. He called it a propensity for violence, saying that it is impossible for the defendant to demonstrate that he poses no danger to the community. The defendant's violence was starkly depicted in that 2016 Intercontinental video.
But he wasn't charged with that. He wasn't charged with domestic violence. It was a Rico. He was acquitted.
I want to go to ABC News' Rena Roy, who was outside that courthouse in Lower Manhattan as this news trickled out. And Rena, what more can you tell us?
Yes, he will be in jail.
Well, Alex, the judge took the bench shortly after 5 p.m. and almost immediately he read out his decision. Prosecutors and the defense, they submitted their letters at 1 p.m., making their cases for both for and against his release here. And it appears that the judge sided with the prosecution. They attached a letter from celebrity stylist and Cassie Ventura's friend, Deontay Nash, who said that he also suffered violence at the hands of Combs and urged the judge not to release him, saying that that would send a dangerous message. And Cassie Ventura's lawyer also told the judge that she felt that he would pose a danger to alleged victims like herself and the community as well. Now, as you pointed out, the judge said, quote, "It is impossible for the defendant to demonstrate that he poses no danger to the community." And he cited his domestic violence that we saw in this trial over and over as part of the justification for his decision here. And he said that he had a propensity for violence. And remember, this is something that the defense did not deny in this trial. They agreed that Combs can be violent. They agreed that Combs can be abusive. You see the images of that 2016 video on your screen
and
there.
reporters being a little disingenuous. You know, this is ABC News again, and it's not me defending Diddy. Yes, they owned up to the domestic violence aspect of it, but what they've also stressed was that this was a domestic violence case. It was not a Rico case. The feds are not in a jurisdiction to determine whether Diddy is guilty of domestic abuse battery. Remember, there were no charges filed.
We have now learned is scheduled for October 3rd at 10 a.m., Alex.
So he set this out to October 3rd.
Trial attorney Brian Buckmeyer. And Brian, we're learning that as the judge made his ruling here denying Diddy's release, Combs he appeared to look at his lawyers as the judge read that decision. His head was largely down, though he did whisper to one of his attorneys, and that's a stark difference from how he came into the courthouse, smiling and greeting supporters. But
hold up a second.
In your professional expertise, does this decision surprise you?
It doesn't surprise me. In fact, I assumed that this judge would deny any request for bail. And I think, and again, I'm not at the table, but I understand, I know some of these defense attorneys, what probably happened was like what we all do as a defense attorneys, we tell our client, this is how we hope it goes. If it goes in our favor, then you're going to walk out. If it doesn't go in our favor, then here are the plans that we can try to make this work. And what I think Sean Combs is probably whispering to his attorneys and what they're listening to is, what's next? And what's possibly next for Sean Combs is what's called a writ of habeas corpus, where the defense will file a writ to go to a higher court, potentially the Second Circuit, and say that this judge erred in not providing bail for Sean Combs. I would not be surprised if the document is not being drafted now or shortly tomorrow morning, that they request to go to a higher court to try to get another bite of the apple for trying to release Sean Combs. It's the 4th of July weekend, so it might be difficult, but maybe Monday or Tuesday, they'll try to set something up in the near future.
Well, and I want to go to ABC News legal contributor and criminal defense attorney Bernardo Villalona. Bernardo, we're just getting this new note from the district judge in this case. He did not weigh in on Combs's future sentencing, but did note that there is a wide divide, he said, between what the prosecution and defense attorneys have suggested for a sentence. Can you break down to us what is his exposure looking like here, and what are some of the guidelines there?
Yeah, so one thing that is definitely definite in terms that both sides do agree is that the maximum sentence as to each count is 10 years and that it can run consecutive up to 20 years. However, there's something that's called the criminal sentencing guideline recommendation. And in those recommendations, in that guideline, it takes into account the transportation to engage in prostitution, the acts that took place, how many of them took place, how did it take place, and who was involved in those acts. And for each of those items that were taken into consideration, points are assigned to them. So depending on how many points are assigned to each of those acts, that would determine the range, the sentencing guideline range that Sean Combs could face. Look, in the end, the Department of Probation is going to do their independent calculation as to what the guidelines are, and the judge is going to take his cue from the Department of Probation. And ultimately, at the time of sentencing, there will be a hearing to determine what are those guidelines. And if there's any case where the guidelines make a difference, it's going to be this case, for the reason being that there's no mandatory minimum. And I am sure that Judge Subramanian is not going to look to go below the guidelines in handing out a sentence to Sean Combs, because this is not your typical transportation to engage in prostitution. Prime example, when the prosecution put up a picture of 27 men that were hired to engage in sexual acts with either Jade or Cassie, or sometimes with the both of them sharing the same men at different occasions.
Well, and Bernardo, one other thing that we're seeing from one of Diddy's attorneys, they're asking for him to be sentenced as soon as possible. Why is that?
Because they believe in their mind that Sean Combs would be eligible for a lesser sentence, that the judge will give him a lesser sentence than whatever the guidelines recommend. And it is in the prerogative of the judge to give a below guideline sentence, which could equal out to Sean Combs being released as soon as the date of sentence. So that's why they are asking for an immediate sentencing date. But what's going to be the bump in the road is how long the Department of Probation takes in interviewing Sean Combs and conducting their independent investigation for this pre-sentence report. This pre-sentence report is not going to be 2 or 3 pages. We are talking about over 10 or 20 pages that this report is going to encompass. encompass that's going to take into account the life of Sean Combs from when he was born up until the day of sentencing, his actions in custody, what he has been done or even accused of doing, his prior bad acts, interviews with family members, interviews with other people, interviews with the victims of this case. All of that is going to be taken care of into this report that ultimately will be a recommendation for this judge to make the ultimate decision as to what should be the sentence in determining deterrence, accountability, and rehabilitation for Sean Combs.
There will be
found guilty of.
Bernardo.
There'll be victim impact statements that are going to be rendered. So you're going to see Cassie in court. You'll see Jane Doe in court. Again, the reason why the defense attorneys are moving fast with this, they want to obviously, and they likely will, probably by tomorrow, you're going to see a draft, although he's not going to be out by the 4th of July, I doubt. This is going to go before the federal circuit. I believe they're going to appeal the judge's ruling on denying bail. The man has been in jail since September of last year. And this Mann Act charge, we have to remember, and Judge Joe Brown has stated this when Jack Johnson was convicted of it. He actually spent less than a year in prison. The reason why he spent more time was because he actually escaped out of jail. And hold on, let's see what this guy is saying.
You could see that they, I think it was the prostitution claims and that in those issues were definitely clear to them, and they struggled a little bit more with the allegations of the more abstract legal concepts. But they have a very diverse jury makeup, different backgrounds, ethnicities, ages, and it's why it's difficult to read the tea leaves and to know what a jury panel is going to do ultimately at the end of the day. We want to get a sense of what themes, what cases, or excuse me, what storylines and whatnot will actually resonate with jurors, or with the greatest amount of jurors, so that they're going to be able to see whomever's.
They didn't see this as a racketeering case. That's the ultimate thing. This was a victory for the defense attorneys. Now, if the judge ends up giving Sean Combs 20 years for this, you know that this judge, essentially, who was picked during the Biden administration, is clearly on the side of the prosecutor. He allowed a lot of stuff in that I felt would be overturned on an appeal. So right now, the post-conviction stuff is about to start, but it hasn't started yet because there has to be the sentencing. So Sean Combs got to sit for 3 months in jail, 3 more months until he hears something.
Motionless at the counsel table right now, according to the latest note from our team inside there. And that's a stark departure from how he entered, smiling and greeting supporters, and also how he's known as a personality. I mean, this is an individual who is built a brand essentially around being.
Of course, he's smile changed. You got to stay in jail.
At one point,
people. Let me just say this, guys. I'm gonna mute this for a second. I don't know who this is that's coming up next, but this is like Professor Crump.
This is quite the change.
Yeah, this is a stark difference from the kind of charismatic person, as you really
of course he's got to stay in jail.
Come to know, for the last 30 years. I mean, imagine being the person who is known for getting the party started, essentially, in whatever room or space.
If you were if you had to stay in jail, you would be motionless too.
Charges, and now
you would be upset that you're here and you got to stay after you got acquitted on the most severe charge. But let's go ahead. We got to bring our boy in, Brother Harvey Superboy. Harv.
Yeah, how you doing, brother?
I'm doing fine, man. Welcome back. How you?
Glad to be back.
Yeah. So let's go ahead. So I saw somebody was quoting a post that I put up because so I'm sorry, I was looking at somebody that tweeted something. Someone wrote, I asked if the judge wasn't considering the guidelines. He said they don't have to. Judge has final say. There are guidelines, meaning they can use them, but can give you life if they want to. He cannot give you. Sorry. Sean, Harvey, why don't you give your thoughts about what happened? Diddy got acquitted on the most severe charges, but found guilty on the Rico. And I was just going to say, everybody, I paused this, but y'all got to stop watching ABC, CBS, NBC, and because there's a narrative that they try to approach with this. And again, I'm not supporting Diddy per se, and that's not my issue, but I don't like government overreach and cheating either. Go ahead.
Well, I agree with you. First of all, it should never even been a Rico case because Rico's usually for mobs and all that, but we know this is how they've been getting a lot of these black men, these black male celebrities. You know, R. Kelly, because they kept bringing R. Kelly up this morning, which I don't know why they did it. I mean, I know why they did it, but they were trying to say that he's in the same class as R. Kelly, in which I disagree with R. Kelly. They basically double jeopardy R. Kelly, but Diddy, the whole thing, I watched the trial. It was basically about him and Cassidy. That's what it was. Cassidy, excuse me. They didn't find them credible. They overreached, and New York is notorious for doing this. I mean, remember, they convicted R. Kelly in New York, so it's not. I'm not surprised about Diddy, but why I am surprised is they didn't let him get out on bail. He can't go anywhere. He's recognized. He can't go anywhere. He can't do anything. He'd be a fool if he tried to do something. What it is, this is a message to black men. They're like, we don't care how much money you got, we're going to put you in check. I mean, look what they did to Jonathan Majors. We saw him being chased, and they still found him guilty. So I'm not shocked about this. I'm not. Yeah. And then what gets me, and I'm glad you brought up back ABC, because I noticed that one brother with the fade, anytime a black guy get in trouble, he always make like the brothers bad guy of the story.
Are you talking about the brother that's right? You talking about him?
Not him. The other one that be on Good Morning America in the afternoon. The one, the legal analyst with the fade. That one right there. That dude right there. That handkerchief hair right there. He always got something negative to say about black men. And I would say, would echo what you say. Don't watch CBS, NBC, ABC, because CNN, boy, they was chomping at the bit. MSNBC. Here it is. You have a president that they found guilty and was able to become president again, and they didn't cover this. Like, you would think Diddy killed somebody the way they covering it. And for the ladies out there, I mean, no disrespect.
I don't know about that. They cover Trump a lot. Trump, we've had Trump 24/7.
Trump, but this is different. You'll not know the tone is different. This is totally different because if everybody was really serious about Trump getting those 34 convictions and stuff, and he still was able to run for office and be taken serious.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? They covered it, but they didn't cover it like this tone is totally different, and you and I know it.
Well, yes, and in some ways it reminds me of the Bill Cosby situation.
A lot.
Where you have these prior bad act witnesses that come on, like all of these people that are testifying. For instance, the Brianna Bordelon woman who said Diddy dangled her over the balcony, right? Well, he had an alibi saying he's in New York at this time. So you got to be careful. So whenever they do a date, you got to watch it and be careful because the dates are where they get caught up. And then his attorneys, like he has Brian Steele, he has Mark Agnolifio and Tina Garagos. His attorneys were smart enough to catch that, and they moved for a mistrial against and citing prosecutorial misconduct, because you got to keep in mind, brother, the prosecutors are the ones making the case. So they prep those witnesses before they go on the witness stand. They don't just sit them up there. They will they'll try and get their story straight. They had to have known this. So if they knew that there was evidence that was perjured, testimony that was perjured, that wasn't true, they have a duty not to put that on the witness stand, and they have a duty to always have candor with the court. You're an officer of the court, just like me. I couldn't put my client on the stand if I knew my client was going to perjure themselves. You can't do that. Now, why I say it reminds me of the Bill Cosby thing, you're bringing in Cassie, who is basically citing prior bad act stuff, this domestic violence stuff, and I agree, he's violent. Okay? He was violent. He should have been he should have been brought on charges in state court.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't do that. She didn't make a complaint. The police didn't know about it. They tried to say bribery. Well, the problem with that is you got to have an investigation going. There was nothing done that would make the bribery. They tried to say extortion. Cassie's mother, like the money he asked them to wire and then he sent back. My understanding, that was over a record deal or monies that he had advanced.
Mm-hmm.
Because Cassie and Diddy are not just lovers, they're also employer-employee, which is why when she sued him and that money was paid the next day, she sued the company Bad Boy and Bad Boy Enterprises and the record label. So they have insurance. The insurance companies are the ones who pay that out.
Mm-hmm.
So she got $30 million. Then you had another witness who also had a lawsuit against Diddy, and she filed suit for $10 million. And according to what came out at the trial testimony, they're sharing notes with each other, like they're sharing stories with each other and so forth. So that it was just a lot of stuff that was brought in that should not have been allowed. And then it's very similar, like I said, with Cosby, because remember what they did with Dr. Cosby? They had the several out of 19 women, the judge allowed 6 women who we don't even know if what they were saying was true or false. They saying something 19. We're bringing on somebody. It's 2018. We're bringing somebody on from 1982 to say you bring Janice Dickerson on. You bring in the one lady who was a fugitive. Her name escapes me right now. She actually had a question she asked to Dr. Cosby on the witness stand. Do you remember me, Mr. Cosby? And the judge allowed that. The defense moved for a mistrial. The judge let it go on.
Knowing that man that when he was blind too, legally blind and all that, it was a lot of stuff with the Cosby thing that was dirty. But my thing is, we all know Diddy is a jerk, and Diddy been a jerk for 30 years. But the thing is, the hotel had the video of him and Cassie. They sit on that and they sent it to CNN of all places. That something was in the works.
That wasn't a hotel. That was the feds that leaked that.
The fans?
Yeah, you know why? Why? Hotel had closed at that point.
Oh, that's right. You're right. That's right.
So they leaked it out.
They said to cut him in public opinion, to destroy his character in the court of public opinion, which they did.
Right. Which they did. And what you're saying, I'll tell you this. I was talking to Queen Ahmadiyya Shakur, because she's actually out there. She's been doing a good job covering everything. And we had a talk, and she couldn't stand Diddy. She always told me she believed Diddy had something to do with Tupac's death. She thought he was dirty. I've heard stuff about him. But she even said she sat in the court and witnessed the proceedings, and she saw firsthand they're actually trying to railroad this guy. I can't believe they're allowed. So I can't believe the stuff they were, Gavin, I couldn't believe the stuff they were allowing in, or the stuff that was happening. It was a circus. You got people outside the courtroom making noise. The jury's not sequestered too. So they're hearing this stuff. So this sounds like this could, and I said this before, this is a verdict. This is a verdict, a victory for the defense. So even if he gets convicted and does time, it's going to get overturned on appeal. There are errors in here, just like they did with Weinstein. They can't touch the not guilty stuff because double jeopardy applies. But the stuff that was found guilty on, they can certainly go back and look at it.
And they had to get him on prostitution because he went across state lines to take him and his girl, the women, and the text messages did it for me. They're not, first of all, these women are not victims. They're not, I'm going to be honest with you. There are actual women out here who are victims of sexual assault as well as men. The text messages, she's a willing participant in this stuff. And my thing is this is the media, the court of public, because there are people actually online saying they wish they execute him. They hope he died in jail. They hope he goes to jail like R. Kelly and blah, blah, blah. But the whole thing, this Mann Act thing, this was geared for black men. A lot of people don't realize that this was to keep black men in check since Jack Johnson. Every well-known black man, when they take him to court, it's the same damn charges.
Right. Well, Jack Johnson was the first victim of that Mann Act that was passed. It was done to get the heavyweight title stripped from him. And they did that. I think that it was certainly what you're seeing. And here's the thing with those Mann Act charges, they're selectively done because if you think about it, if you're not married and you and your girlfriend or your fiance goes across state lines, you're going on vacation. Let's say you're going on vacation to Miami, Harvey, from Chicago, you and your girl. You have sex with her. Technically speaking, you broke the law.
Yeah, that's what I was talking to my aunt about. And I'm gonna be honest, I'm gonna go even back 30-something years. This sort of remind me of what they did with Mike Tyson. You know what I mean? You know that he didn't do it, but poor legal representation. I'm not saying Diddy had good lawyers. You know what I mean? But
he had Brian Steele is the top appellant attorney in the country. That's why he was there. Yeah.
You know, and people saying that Diddy bought his freedom. Diddy ain't bought no freedom. No, if I had the money to get good lawyers, I want the best. We just the case was weak, and they had to find. So the judge told them to go back and give a verdict, and they couldn't agree on it. You really think that people that don't live his lifestyle and know that video is out there, do you think they want to find him guilty? They would have probably wanted to find him guilty, but they like this is nothing burger. So we got to find something to get him on. But I'm not shocked about the judge doing what he did with bail, because if you watch everybody this morning how they covered it, they kept saying the victims and the victims. No, you accused him. Because all the text messages suggest that these people were willing participants in whatever they did. And then all the people getting out here talking about what Diddy did this for 30 years, y'all was willing along with this guy supposedly bad behavior. And when y'all thought he was going to go away for good, now all of a sudden he did this, he did that. And I'm like, this just, I don't know. There's something about this just don't sit right with me. You really don't.
No. And let me just say this for those saying he's a bad guy, he's a piece of shit. Yeah, I agree with you. He is. As a defense attorney, I've represented villains, people that would come out of a comic book. I've represented out of a DC comic book, that is. I've represented, they'll dig me on YouTube for saying this, but I didn't go to law school to hide a word that's been used universally. Murder is a word. It's the law. It's part of a statute. I don't understand why you're up here censoring that. Same thing with ex assault. You got to say ex. Like, I didn't go to law school for this. This is another part.
I know. This like when you can't say
assault, grape, all this stuff. I said grape. Yeah, that's not a law. The word is take the G off of it. I've represented, to get my point, I've represented scumbag, what you would call a scumbag before. Why I do it is because our Constitution is the law of the land, and it says all persons, regardless of their income, regardless of what they look like, regardless of their social status, if they're accused of a crime, they're presumed innocent until proven guilty. You bring a charge, you have to prove it, state or feds, and you can't deny someone due process because you don't like the person. That's not how that works. And so, I had to represent Harvey, a guy one time who had a very bad history, was a drug dealer. Now, I think most people would say drug dealers are bad for our community. I would think universally. The guy was accused of domestic violence against his baby mama, dropping her off in a car, and then She calls 911 saying he took the car without permission and hit me and blah, yada, yada. I listened to the 911 call. She wasn't crying, wasn't upset. She seemed calm. Make matters worse, they took pictures. There was no injuries. But to make matters worse, the police chased after him. He didn't know why they were chasing him. So they hit him with also a flight from an officer and driving without a license. We go to trial. The woman had submitted earlier affidavits to the state stating that she didn't want to pursue charges and said nothing happened. He's innocent. State said, I don't care. We're going to trial. They didn't want to offer him nothing because of his record, his history. Finally, we get to trial. She actually showed up to court at the last minute. I call her as my witness because the state rested. The judge denied my motion for an acquittal because I was arguing the witness isn't here. It's a Sixth Amendment violation. He has a right to confront the witness. She gets on. She admits she lied about everything. He never touched me. I said, why did you do it? You know what her answer was? She said he was on Facebook looking at other girls. That's not the worst part. He had to sit in jail, and this is what she knew. When he got arrested, he had to sit for 5 or 6 months because he had a parole hold. She knew he was on paper. So when you get arrested and you're on parole, they will you got to sit in jail till the outcome of the case. So he got found not guilty on the most severe charge, but guilty on the others, and then they taxed him. Oh, you got to serve 4 months consecutive. So the point that I make with that, there's a reason why a lot of our young black men don't like dealing with the justice system. But my point also is we also have to have a conversation about prejudice and how we don't let emotions cloud our judgments with stuff like that. Because by the logic some people are saying, you would think, you're saying, oh, I want him to get something. You want him to get something. So what if it were your son that was accused of something? Somebody thinks he's a jackass, or your brother. I just don't like the man. I don't like the way he looks. I've heard stuff about him. If somebody said that about your sibling, your brother, you think they would want that to happen? They'd be fighting for him. Again, I think Diddy is a scumbag. Yes, you could say, some people say this is karma. But do I think this should have been brought as an attorney? This should not have been brought by federal court. It was an overreach. And we can't have our government do that. That's my opinion. So,
I agree with you. I was saying when I first heard about it, because remember when the tape first came out, nobody said, well, statute of limitations, and she didn't press any charges. And I'm like, and I remember doing videos, man. I said, nah, they're gonna go after him. They just don't put stuff out there just for the hell of it. They because they get in the court of public opinion ready to be against him. Now, if you think about all these brothers that have done the perk walk, the court of public opinion, because you had Joy Reid and Torrey, which he really need to be quiet. I get, she was comparing Diddy to Trump and everything. I'm like, really, y'all, look, like I agree with you, Galvin. Diddy is a jerk. We known that since the 90s, okay? It's nothing new. I just think that, like, I agree with you. It was nothing here, and the jury had to find something together. They was not gonna let him walk out of that courthouse clean. They just wasn't. If they couldn't find him with the most serious of charges, that tells you something. Just like when Cosby in the first trial, they was done with it, but the judge and them, the prosecutor, like, no, we gotta get him. Then when it went to the Supreme Court, they threw. I never forget. I watched it live.
And I was doing that with you.
Yeah, you was with me, and I'm like, it was like, there's nothing here. That's why they released him.
But the judge actually walked off turn the camera off.
I was pissed off about it.
Chief judge. Well, what it was the prior bad. It was about the prior bad acts and the deal that he had with the prosecutors. Guys, y'all are letting stuff in. How do you let something in? How did you make the determination? The judge make the determination that you should have let all of this stuff stand, all of this shit in.
You let a lot of hearsay come in. And that's how they convicted him.
Yeah, you basically you threw spaghetti on the wall to try and make something stick in this one string, and that's not how that works. And the bottom line was with Dr. Cosby, why it was ultimately overturned. The prosecutor agreed not to press charges
because the prosecutor knew they didn't have any evidence then.
He didn't believe. Well, his specific thing was he had said she had credibility issues.
She was credible. It was credibility issues. And like I said, when me and Nicole and I forget the other brother,
True story.
True story. We told y'all what was going to happen. Because if you listen to the people, the story, I mean, no story is going to stay consistent, but big chunks of it was inconsistent. And my thing is like, I don't know of any black man in this country, I don't care how much money he got, can get away doing the things they're being accused of. Somebody ain't screaming bloody murder. You know what I mean? Like Diddy, like I said, he's a jerk. We saw the video with him. I'm not defending that. I'm not rationalizing that. But when you pay attention to this trial, and then when you find the stuff that Cassidy was saying and the text messages and the things she was doing, you sitting there like, so how again she the victim? So now you got to find another way to make him the bad guy. Say, like you said, if I cross state line, I have sex with a female, and she gets pissed off at me, and they don't have anything else to charge me. So, well, you went into another state and had sex with her. You screwed. So any dude that go on vacation, you might not want to have sex with your girlfriend because I'm being honest with you, because they'll get you. And this the problem that also goes back to voting. You need to know what judges and what prosecute these people who hold these offices. Because New York, it seemed like New York, they gunning for brothers. Because remember, they found R. Kelly guilty in New York. Jonathan Majors, we saw a video of Jonathan Majors running away. And they make
off like he was getting ready for Creed 4.
Yeah, he was. I mean, that brother was. He was like Jesse Owens, man. He was like, leave me alone.
And Rockport shoes. Yeah.
Feet don't fail me now. You know, and he's still a villain of the story. But you have a guy kill a brother in front of everybody. And he walks. Think about that. I know they're not the same cases, but think about that. A man murders a brother just for saying, I want some water and being loud. He walks and he gets celebrated. You have a case here. Basically, the media tried Diddy in court of public opinion. We can't deny that.
Sure.
And Diddy, when you go ahead, I'm sorry.
Right. Well, they used all of that they used the court of public opinion to hurt his image, his likeness, his money, especially now because there were lawsuits. But yeah, go on.
And my aunt, we was talking about that, and she said, do you think Trump would pardon him? I don't know, but wait, 50 Cent will have his way. It may not happen. But I'm going to give a warning to a lot of these brothers. For the last 15 years or so, we ain't seen a stream of black men get perp walking in front of the cameras. Mm-hmm. And now I heard somewhere a football player I can't forget, just got accused. I forget, I saw it somewhere in my Facebook news. Some brother got accused, a football player. Somebody saying he assaulted her now. Let me say this to the fellas. I don't care how fine she is. You might have to start telling people where you at, who you with, who this person is. Because everybody's on the grift now. I really do think everybody's on the grift. And I really do think they know in society, black men are always seen as predators. And this is a problem. And like you said about Jack Johnson, every time a well-known black man, and I'm not saying these brothers are innocent, because a lot of them have got caught dead in the cookie jar. Yeah. But the law needs to be applied fairly. That's my issue. And call these women victims. No, they're the accuser. They're not victims until you got clear evidence.
Right. Well, that player you're talking about is Harrison, Maxwell Harrison. Yeah, out of Buffalo. He was Buffalo Browns' first pick. The team dismissed his claim after an investigation. The allegations stem from his time at Kentucky. So what that means, from what it sounds like, they did some research. So since you brought this up, the Buffalo Bills general manager, Brandon Beane, was asked about the allegations after the Bills picked Harrison in the draft, and he said he's an impeccable kid. Quote, he's an impeccable kid. We did a lot of research. I think all teams were aware of this Title IX thing. He said this was fully investigated by the school. He even volunteered to do a polygraph test and take notes. And essentially, nothing happened from it.
You know, that should tell you a tale. When the school does the investigation, they don't think. Usually, some of these schools throw you under the bus when you get just accused. And let me be honest with you, you Chris Brown example. Remember when they was accusing Chris Brown at one time of doing certain things, and the media didn't cover it. And if the media doesn't cover it, even the media might smell a rat somewhere. Because usually they hankering, to do these type of stories.
Well, specifically, I can tell you this much. The one good thing about Trump being president, you love him or hate him, they've rolled back a lot of these Title IX administration stuff like they're doing, because if you were accused, and I remember this happened under the Obama administration, if you were accused of, doing what this young man was accused of, forget there was no due process or hearing. They automatically dismissed you. It was like an automatic thing. There was no trials, no hearing. You had an investigative board, but once it was there just on the allegations, you were suspended from school. You were done.
Yeah, look what they did to Ray Rice in the NFL. Him and this girl, it was before they got married. They had an incident. They went to court. It wasn't during the season. The judge already had him doing, and somebody got pissed off and said, "Nah, we gotta make him suffer." Then the NFL decided, "No, we're gonna suspend you." And then he went around that apology tour and never got back in the NFL. That was all during the Obama administration.
Yeah, and specifically what I remember with Ray Rice, the wife got charged with people who left out what they say on ESPN. The wife got charged as well. They leave this part out because she spat on the man. So, yeah, they were both drinking. They were both drunk. And what he was offered, the reason why they say why wasn't he prosecuted? Well, he had no prior criminal history. He went through what's called a pretrial diversion program, which states will offer if you have no criminal history, and they put him through diversion. You pay money basically to go to these classes that's offered by the state. It's basically an official way to bribe the state, but it's legal. It's classes, and the wife okayed it. She's the victim. She said she was all right with it.
Because she knows she started it, because she knows she was the aggressor, and she said it. And people said, no, you wasn't the aggressor, but she kept saying, "Look, I spit on my husband. Yeah, he slapped me, but knocked her ass out, hitting that pole in that elevator. That's what knocked her the fuck out." And then on top of that, you have I just lost my train of thought about this.
Ooh. I lost my train of thought too. I wasn't trying to click on this, but damn.
Like, wow.
Hello.
Hello, nurse. How you doing? But not. But the thing is that a lot of these brothers gotta be. I don't want to say be paranoid, but you're almost at the point where you're gonna have to be, because if somebody like I said, if they just get a stick up their rear, they can accuse you for anything without really any proof. Especially if you're a well-known entity, they can just say, "Hey, you did it," and your reputation is destroyed. Now, my thing is, if they want to go after Diddy for that video, then let that been a civil trial between Diddy. But she got paid already. I think they paid her $20 million, and then you turn around and say, "I'm going to join the Fed case." But it's something about that New York with black men in New York. I'm sorry. Oh no, I know what I was going to bring up. Jussie Smollett, same thing. He had no prior criminal record. Whether you think he lied or not, I think it's more to the story than what is being led on, because there's a lot of stuff they don't talk about anymore. But the thing is, they didn't like the fact that he was going to get community service and had to pay a fine, and they had a stick up their ass, and they made that story bigger than what it should have been. That's why they said we can't see you to jail. I mean,
they had overturned it because Kim Fox had already. It was similar to the Bill Cosby situation. She already had agreed to it, and the defense relied on it. So they couldn't go back on her word like that, which is why they reinstated the initial sentence. So what they did was they picked it back up because they were frustrated. And yeah, I mean, I've you and I've disagreed on that because I thought what he did was stupid. But I'll just say, but yeah, you're right on that point. Yeah, they wanted to make an example out of him. So
Yeah, because I mean, like I said, I know each case is supposed to take an individual, but if we're gonna stop putting people in jail for lying or alleged lying, then there's a lot of people that should be in jail for lying for hate crimes in Illinois. Because one guy lied and said he torched his own restaurant and said it was a hate crime. They found out he did it. Nobody was raising hell about it and anything. What it was, even though Jussie Smollett was a D-list, and damn, I don't even say a D-list celebrity. They made it like he did something major. You know what I mean? It just, I think what they're doing is that ever since Obama won, they like, we can't let another one get that popular again. We couldn't get Obama, so we're gonna take it out on all y'all. Michael Jackson got to walk. We didn't get our skin from him. Bill Cosby got a chance to walk. We didn't get our skin from him. So who's the next Negro on the list?
OJ didn't get a chance to walk.
OJ, yeah, he lived his life.
Now that second time,
that got him. They said we didn't get him, but definitely. I mean, but I don't know, man. It just, like I said, I'm not a fan of Diddy, and I'm not defending that video between him and Cassie, but they overcharged him, and they should let the man out on bail till sentencing. Because what's that dude, Abercrombie and Finch? Now, didn't he get accused, and he's out on bail right now?
Yeah.
So it just shows you how the legal system, but it goes back to I said, you voting. You need to know what judges are on these who's being put in these positions, and your president matters because they get to pick and all this stuff, who gets where and all that. So I don't know, brother.
The presidents appoint the federal judges who are appointed for life, and this was a Democratic pick. This is Joe Biden's judge.
Yeah, and I keep telling everybody that just because they're a Democrat don't mean they can't screw you over.
No, and the guy is, I think he's Indian.
If he's Indian, then you would know why Diddy ain't got. Well, no, I'm not gonna be. I'm gonna be racist. I'm not racist. I won't be stereotypical. That's what I should say. I'm not gonna do that. But I don't know, brother. I think that now, can he appeal that what the judge did today, or he just got to stay in until sentencing?
Yeah, if I thought I had said it earlier, but they can certainly.
I didn't hear you.
No, it's no problem. Yes, they can appeal what's called they will have to do what's called not an appeal but a writ, and they will take it up to the appellate court about the bail denied. If you recall, the judge denied bail. Diddy's been sitting in jail since September of last year. So this is almost a year. This is 8 months ago. And he appealed it. The circuit courts denied it. Certainly they can appeal it again. Now, the only problem, Harvey, remember, and I'm sure they're working on it now, Friday is the 4th of July.
They're going to do papers.
So there's no way, I doubt, unless they by miracle file all of that tonight, I certainly doubt they're going to hear it on tomorrow before the 4th.
Nah. And we know how the federal government is. When it's a holiday, Thursday's usually when everything starts to shut down.
Yeah.
I would just say this. Diddy must have crossed somebody, or they just said, okay, we got to get a new Negro of the month. I'm serious. Because it just screams racism and hypocrisy at the same time. But like I said, could this be Diddy coming back to come and bite him? I think so, partially.
Right.
But if they couldn't get him on his most serious charges, that tell you they really had a weak case.
Well, yeah, the way they prosecuted it was terrible. Like I said, it was an overreach. Everything was an overreach. The stuff we've all talked about, like he cited, the judge, even in his reasonings for denying bail, he cited domestic violence. Guess what? They didn't prosecute him for domestic violence.
Exactly.
Why? There were no charges filed. That's not a federal offense. It's not a federal offense. the judge could have issued bail and said, I'll let you out on bond, but you can't have any contact to do a stay away order. You can have no contact with the victims.
Put an
You can
ankle
only,
on you or something.
right. Your movement will be limited either to go to your doctor or to your attorney's office, or if you needed to buy food or groceries, they can do that.
Mm-hmm.
To say that he's got to sit in jail for another basically 90 days. That's 3 months. You look at July to August, August to September, and then September to October.
Basically, the end of the year
to the fall. Now he may not tax Diddy, but I think he will just by this ruling because the judge, he was allowing a lot of stuff in there. But the more time he sits in prison,
mm-hmm.
he's also getting credit for time served.
Mm. Now if he
sit in prison,
if they sentence him, do you think he's gonna get what max by about 5 years?
The maximum you can get on each count is 10.
Okay.
So I'm thinking my thoughts on it, if he does get, my thoughts on it is, and the judge has what's called sentencing guidelines. So here's what's happens. Once this is what happens when the post-conviction relief stuff starts. There's got to be the sentencing guidelines. The feds will be, and the coordinators are going to be talking with the victims in the case. I know we have used that term loosely, but they will be talking with them, what their thoughts are. There's a point system that they have in terms of the person's conduct. So they consider a bunch of things, what the charges are, his ability to be rehabilitated, what's the standing point of the victims, the victim impacts statements they will consider. So they're going to consider all of that. They're also going to look at how much time he's been in jail, what programs, if they've been offered, how he's been doing in jail that he's been sitting in. I think he might end up just getting, let's say the judge gave him 5 years on each count, concurrent. So he's already done almost a year. Oh, it'll be over a year in October. Mm-hmm. So practically, now I don't know how it is, the system in jail, but usually you get like a day and a half or 2 days for each day you stay in jail. Mm-hmm. He's probably already going to be close to maxing out at that point, maybe a couple of months or so. But I also look at this from this standpoint. Do I trust this judge to actually, just based off what I saw today and during this trial, to give him a lighter sentence? I don't.
No.
It sounds like this judge, because remember, he snapped on Diddy for supposedly looking at the jury, when in actuality he was looking and he was nodding at his attorneys. He snapped on him. He snapped on him in court. I don't know if you heard that part.
I didn't hear that part, but
he did.
Boy, yeah. See, this is the type of stuff that it pisses you off about the legal system. Like, I know the Trump thing is different, all these different, they're not all the same. But when you look at how we are treated in the system as black men, you can't sit there and say the fix is not in. You know what I mean?
Right.
I keep going back to Jonathan Majors. He had video of the brother running for his life, but yet he's the villain of the story. But it's out of New York. It's something about that court system in New York. You can let a cop kill somebody and he gets to walk. I don't know. It just.
Yeah. I don't know what happened to his appeal. I think they appealed it, but it's probably still pending.
Yeah.
They shouldn't. It was an overturn. Yeah. And that was wrong what they did to him.
I don't know. I would just say this, man. I would tell these brothers, I don't care how much money you got. I don't care how fine she is. What she says she want to do in the bedroom, you better think about it. I always had a little thing in your head. Look what they did to Bill Cosby. Look what they did to Cuba Gooding Jr. Cuba Gooding Jr. in New York had a video. He had, I don't know, man.
He pled guilty, huh? He pled guilty on that.
because he was afraid to play Russian roulette with his life. Because I mean, just think. I mean, in New York, they parade people out for the cameras. People that they obviously know they got mental issues, or they parade them, and the newspapers are bombastic, man. But I mean, I ain't gonna lie to you. I was thinking Diddy was gonna get charged with that Rico shit. I really did. I really did. But if the jury wasn't buying it, I guess they figured they had to get him guilty on something.
Yeah. They knew it was a bad case. What that tells me is the jury was actually looking at it, and during the deliberations, they actually asked for the transcript from Cassie.
Yeah.
So they were looking at it, and I think when they were looking at the Rico, wait a minute. You mean to tell me she says in the text messages, I like our freak off, she was planning it? Why isn't she on trial then if this is the case?
And they didn't think you was going to go back and look at text messages. They got your text messages. As long as you got an active phone number, your text messages are in the database somewhere. You know what I mean? And Diddy lawyer said, okay, we're going to pull your text message just like the woman that was supposed to be Jane Doe. And when you go back and listen to you, like, so how they get any victims? I don't understand. And my thing is, if they were victims, the whole Me Too thing, they could have really destroyed Diddy doing the Me Too. That's one thing I noticed with these cases now. Women are coming forward, and I'm like, didn't we just have a whole Me Too movement, and y'all settle on this all this time? I mean, like, I don't know, man. It's just something's fishy about this stuff. But, you know, I don't want women to think that I'm insensitive, because there are women actually out here.
No doubt. No doubt. Of course there are. But the problem with some of this, too, is that there's also has to be accountability that has to be taken in some of these cases.
True.
And look, I've represented plenty of women who have been accused of domestic violence against their man. There have been examples of that. So it's not limited to just men. It's not just something men do. At the same time, and here's the thing I'm looking at. Everybody is mad about how there's no accountability. They said he walked. How is he walking from this? Cassie, he's sitting in jail. Cassie's father. What about Cassie's father? We saw the mother testify, but what did dad have to say? Because if my daughter came home black and blue, well, she wasn't around, obviously, his daughter, I don't think, because she's living that lifestyle. But if you found out your child had been harmed or damaged in some way, that we said the same thing with the situation. If the Michael Jackson thing was true, there's not enough money in the world to keep me from wringing my hands around their neck.
When you tell them, when my sister was murdered, I told the police officers, I said, it's best that I don't be in the courtroom with the woman on trial. I know what I'm going to do, you know? And that's just and we see enough cases where family in court and they see the person that's accused or basically got caught dead to rights doing harm to their loved one, and they react a certain way. So it just the whole thing struck me as odd. I think what it was is that it was Diddy's turn. I gotta be careful how I say that. It was.
Man, you should see this. Not to cut you off. Oh, go ahead and finish your thought. I just want to tell you, I'm looking at that.
I gotta be careful how I say this, because this is your channel, and I don't want to say anything to get you any strikes or anything. So sometimes it's best to keep some things to yourself.
Right. I'm gonna just say this. I'm looking at X, and I'm looking at people are commenting. Vlad is even commenting on this. DJ Vlad, look what he wrote.
What'd he say?
Let me do DJ Vlad's voice. Okay, so we know Cassie is the villain in this whole case. You can't convince me otherwise, you know? Isn't that right, Michael J. White? You know, that's what you think?
Yeah, you know, she is. But wait a minute, you got DJ. Guess what? Bill Maher said the same thing, and you know I can't stand Bill Maher. Everybody sees it for what it is, but the only reason why they saying this now is because the Me Too movement, I think they overreached with a lot of dudes. And now they're trying to course correct.
Look at this. They got people.
Very big play in the freak offs we heard about. You have people saying it's not Rico, it's Frico. You got applause coming.
They say they got people pouring baby oil outside themselves.
That's what they focus on. Have they been watching Skin Flicks the last decade, 20 years or so? Okay, yeah. He's a freak. They like baby oil. Okay, he like watching other dudes do his girl. That's a whole porn genre full of that shit. You know what I mean?
Yes.
I don't know, man. I'm tell you what I'm looking for, the next Superman movie. Shit. Shoot. I don't know.
Somebody said Kid Cudi waiting outside the court.
That's funny.
Idolater. Your soul is crying in hell.
Oh my God, that was funny. Oh. But you know what? What gets me is a lot of people when Diddy got arrested. to work. That was funny. Yeah, I needed that laugh. That was funny.
Your soul is crying in hell.
Oh, that was funny. But I would say this to these brothers in Hollywood. Well, look what they're going after Tyler Perry. Who would have thought that was going to happen? Me too. They said, we went after the straight brothers. Let's go after the gay ones now.
And you know, even when you read that lawsuit,
you know it's bullshit too.
It is, but what doesn't surprise me from the text messages, do I believe that's him? Yeah. There have been stories about Tyler Perry for years. And look, Tyler Perry is my New Orleans brother. Most of what I've heard about him, the biggest complaints are the phony wigs and makeup department with his movies. His movies are not that good. They're not well written. But he has a following, which is mostly women who support his brand. I think how they do it though, but no, I'm not. But my biggest hoo-ha, I guess, is he doesn't bring in other brothers to write movies or direct. He does everything himself.
He's a control, basically.
And he's writing from a female perspective.
Well, it's kind of obvious that Tyler is gay. He's like Luther. You see it, but nobody says it. You know what I mean? And what he does in his bedroom, that's his business. I mean, you can't deny that the brothers help people out when others wouldn't. You know what I mean?
He's given a lot of actors, and that I will give him. He's given a lot of black actors and actresses opportunities. If I was ever offered a role in a movie, I would consider it. I probably would do it.
You pay me that kind of money, I'll take it. I'll be like, hey, Tyler. Hey, McGee.
I ain't going to his house.
No, I ain't going to his house. Hey, Harvey, how you doing? That dude's big. He'll kick my ass, man. Shit. But the thing is that, and it just goes back to Kevin Spacey. I told y'all, I said that was a bullshit case. Everybody got mad at me. I'm like, y'all, do y'all really listen to these people when they accuse people? I don't think people really think these stories out. They go overboard with the allegations. You see what I'm saying? And then it's the power on. I know they said, well, maybe these people was afraid. They wasn't afraid now. And my thing is, if you run into the media before you let it do justice in a court, if you go into the media, then you're out for maximum damage. You know what I mean? And we all saw what they did to Michael Jackson. Even to this day, I know the last time I was on the Code channel was the year before last when I was talking to Tito's son. He was saying that, Taj, he was saying that Michael did not want to settle. It was the insurance company. Their logic was, hey, man, you got so much more to lose. Give them the money. They're going about their business. And when you did that, you opened the floodgates.
Right.
Taj, Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Josh told me that Tom Mesereau said the same thing. It was Johnny Cochran and Scott, the private investigator who passed, Scott Ross.
Mm-hmm.
He said it was Johnny Cochran and Michael did not want to settle. It was the insurance company, because at that time Michael was going on tour, and they just decided they'll just pay him the money and let him be done, and that was it. Yeah.
And the thing is that I was watching this documentary about Barbara Walters, and they showed her interview with Michael. When you go back and look over the years how they did that, man, you saw the setup. You saw it. And with Mike, I go back to even Mike Tyson. A lot of people need to go back and they can get the transcripts from 2020. Desiree Washington, who accused him, she accused a white guy of rape before. And I remember that episode in 2020, and for some reason, nobody never brings that up. And I want to be clear to the ladies out there, young and old, if you are a victim of harassment or rape, go report it. Don't sit on it 5, 10, 15, 50 years and say, oh, by the by, because people are going to look at you side-eye.
Well, the main thing with that, I remember that story. That was actually on Fox News when they talked about it as well. The jurors had said, had they known that incident, they would have voted not guilty, because she had a history of doing that. But Mike Tyson's problem was twofold. He was tied up. Don King had hired an insurance
lawyer, yeah,
a tax attorney, I believe, to handle it.
Right, a tax attorney.
And a tax attorney is not a criminal. What, with all the money that Don King had, that Mike Tyson had, you couldn't get even a normal criminal defense lawyer out there in New York.
But that means the fix was in. And the judge who was presiding the trial said, "Wait a minute, don't y'all have to? They know y'all qualifications, or they just see a lawyer and they just, oh, okay, they're a lawyer. Don't they know?"
They not necessarily. It doesn't go like that. Yes, I mean, judges, if you're practicing in state court and you're in that district, judges will know who that is. Yes, but remember, it's up first off to the defendant. The defendant, Mike is the one that is the one. Of course, he's not calling the shots, but he should be the one calling the shots. It's up to the defendant to decide if their counsel is effective or not, or if they trust them, because they're paying a check. They're paying them for that. But if the defense attorney, now what he could have done, if there were things that the defense attorney had done that were not within the scope of of an attorney, for instance, that not cross-examining witnesses and not asking questions, not getting the evidence that you have, well, there is something called ineffective assistance of counsel. And if you get convicted, you can actually use that and the court finds it, if there was ineffective assistance of counsel in any way, shape, or form. Let's say they help suppress evidence.
Mm-hmm.
That would be an example, and yeah, you could get that overturned on an appeal. But Mike Tyson is he was young at the time, probably didn't know better. But you have to hire, or he should have at least stepped in and said, I wanted to hire a lawyer like Johnny Cochran, who in the 90s he was available. I would have, he would have been my prime. He would have been my top pick.
Yeah. But Mike Tyson he's bipolar, number one. He's not well educated. Now, he learned, I guess this is why he's very sensitive. I mean, that brother said something about him being a rape, going to jail. And Mike looked at him like, dude, even Mike Tyson's not in his prime. Do you still want to cross that line and poke the bear? No. I would just say this to these brothers out here.
I remember that.
Yeah, I'll never get that. I'm like, dude, man, you don't realize.
I don't care. What are you gonna do about it?
Yeah, I'm sitting like
nothing.
Okay, and man,
Buster.
He hit you the right way. You're gonna see stars, man. Shit. But My thing is, I would say this to these young men right now, these boys, teenage boys. Watch your back, because 1 minute she might be I'm down with it, and next minute she'll be accusing you of rape. And I'm not saying be paranoid, but just be aware of your surroundings and who you interact with. Oh, there you go, right here.
I have to laugh.
Met up with Mayor Rob Ford. Well, he joins us right now with his
This guy
promoter,
got
Alex.
I think something happened. Tariq Nasheed was talking about him, and I think he got in trouble. I don't know what happened because he's from Toronto. The guy's name, but no, whenever they want to attack a black person, they always send a little
Negro in the handkerchief.
Yeah, the guy's name is Nathan Downer. And he would have been down in a minute. Yeah, just like Burbick.
Mike mellowed out over the years, because that was old school Mike.
I'll start with yourself. Many are wondering, how did that happen, this meeting with the mayor?
I have no idea.
It's my fault again. No, at the end of the day, he is the mayor of the city. Mike Tyson is here to promote the first ever performance in Canada. And when I had Sugar Ray Leonard come to Montreal to launch the book, we went to the mayor's office. We're here. It's an habit. We go see the mayor.
And this is the first time probably in the history of Toronto where the mayor is bigger than the whole city. You know, he's the biggest celebrity than everybody in the city. Everybody wants to see the mayor. And he's a really dynamic character.
Right. So you read up on him? You sort of would follow?
No, I didn't read up on him. I watched him on television.
Right.
In the States, and he's a big hit in the States. Big hit.
Now, some of your critics would say, there's a race for mayor. We know you're a convicted rapist. This could hurt his campaign. How would you respond to that?
Hey, I don't know who said that. You're the only one I heard say that.
It was going so well.
I mean, and I don't have no comment to that. Because it's negative, and you're being negative, and I met the mayor, right, and nothing they can do about it.
We actually had a really good time. We talked about George Trevallo, who's a legend in your city, great man with whom Mike spent quite a bit of time yesterday talking about his life, highs and lows.
He's having them Holyfield flashbacks.
Yeah, you can see he was in a good mood. You can see it when the lights go off in his head. Dude, he lucky.
Life, highs and lows.
So interesting that you come across like a nice guy, but you're really a piece of shit.
Hey,
with that comment. No, that was a piece of fuck you. That was a piece of shit.
We're doing live TV.
Man, I don't care. What are you gonna do about it?
Call Holyfield.
Yeah, the brother gonna
sit there. We got a show that you're doing tonight. We are. A lot of people are. Where it's raw and it's the real truth. Yeah, a lot of people are going to be there to see your show. Just tell us a bit about it.
It speaks for itself. Everyone saw the show.
The guy me is a white guy too, because we're doing it live, and the white guy's like, so what? Why would you do that? He's looking at him. He's like, he's got a front row seat to a bloodbath.
It don't
This won't last longer than he won't last longer than Spinks.
No, but you saw Tyson was in a good mood, and when he brought that type, it's like the lights went out of Tyson's eyes. You saw it. And I'm like, oh shit. Because I remember when I saw this live, I was like, oh my God, this dude is stupid. Because this ain't 50. Remember, this is when Tyson was what? Was it still in his early 40s? And Like right now, I went.
It speaks for itself. Everyone saw the show.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a Broadway production. It went to Vegas. It went to actually 28 cities in the United States. And we're really, really proud to bring it here. And we're actually going to Monaco on October 9th.
We're
going to be in Monte Carlo.
Right.
Is it nerve-wracking for you to do something like this, or is it more nervous for you to box? How does it compare?
I don't know. It's more nerve-wracking for me to hear us talking to a rat piece of shit like you.
Come on, Mike.
No, because you're a piece of shit.
All right.
We're
gonna wrap up this interview. Thank you for coming in.
Fuck you.
I don't blame him because that happened. Somebody who did that. What's her name? Oprah Winfrey girlfriend did that to R. Kelly, but R. Kelly had the emotional response. They do this to black men.
She did that to Lisa Leslie about Kobe
about Kobe. She did R. Kelly. Robin Roberts did that to Omarosa. It seemed Nate Parker, Chris Brown, Wendy Williams. Look how Wendy Williams, God don't like us. Look what happened, all that shit she was talking. All these people do this to brothers. This is why some brothers the way they are. I like I said, I have no respect. I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't respect black journalists. I really don't. I have a hard time respecting them. I understand they got a job to do, and I know this is old clip, but still, you bring up about this man's past. He served his time. He's been out of the man ain't got back in troubles. You know what I mean? That should be a tell right there. You know, the man got married. The man lost a child in a tragic accident, and you still want to bring up his past that way. That's why he got mad, because he was in a good mood. This reminds me of R. Kelly. He's on HuffPost when that woman did that to R. Kelly. He said, "Why are you doing this?" It's about the gotcha. I never thought I would agree with Sarah Palin when she said gotcha questions. I just don't know, bro. I think it's in poor taste.
Yeah. Well, yeah, of course it was bad. It's all terrible, but they send black people out. They send these Negroes out, handkerchief heads out to do that. And he got caught. But we're going to keep on.
What you got to say? I'm lucky Mike Tyson didn't cave his face.
Yeah. You know, you embarrassing me in front of my people. You know, you're being ludicrous. I'm just going to have to make mincemeat of I hope you got your will ready, because they're gonna have to bury you right now. You know, I like to crush his nose in and watch his go into his brain. Kapow! You know, it's like painting a Mona Lisa without the breath. You know, it was beautiful. Well, you know what's worse about Mike Tyson getting knocked out by him is then Mike Tyson coming back to pick you up and kiss you.
Sorry, I just blacked out, man. I just blacked out.
It's not personal.
It's not personal, man. You had to go there, man. I don't know. It just sometimes this is why certain TV shows I cringe at, because you know it's about to go. They're gonna ask a question. Because I still flash back to Barbara Walters when Tyson's doing that interview with Robin Givens. I never forget where we was at. It was me, my parents, and my siblings, and all our mouths dropped in the house. It got quiet. We're like, did she just do? And
she embarrassed.
Yeah, and you notice women, and this is one thing I gotta say. You notice women, especially in our community, never do Tyson under the bus. They knew what Robin Givens and what Barbara Walters did was dirty, but they knew he didn't rape that woman, and he suffered for it. He lost his prime years. I don't think he ever truly recovered from that, you know. And like I said, you know, with Diddy, with him and Cassidy, they had a toxic relationship, but she was no victim. And you know, they overcharged him, and it backfired.
Right. So in a way, looks like they got a press conference with the lawyers. Let me see if I can find it. Yeah. So before we get out of here, let me just put this. Yeah. So somebody was recording this. Let's look at it. So that's Mark Garagos.
Overcharged, overzealous, kind of a crazy prosecution, and they did the right thing. And that's why when people talk about tyranny,
His daughter is on the defense,
fascism, and everything else, as long as you've got a jury system that works, that's what separates us from the rest of the world. And Sean is thankful. As a helicopter parent, I couldn't be prouder, and I'll let them talk. I don't want to steal their thunder. That doesn't really, the bail, I think, is besides the point. He was acquitted of the trafficking. He was acquitted of the Rico. Those were always, I thought, as an observer, a ridiculous use of taxpayer resources. This case was never what it was made out to be. This case was ridiculous, in so many different ways. And I'm just thankful that the jury saw through it. Sean is, the interesting thing about prison is it reflect, and he's in a good place mentally. And
the sound is on their end, so I can't really make it louder.
For those of you who may miss it, the defense
y'all hear?
put on a single witness.
I can hear.
The defense tried their case within the prosecution case, and at the end of the day, it's a colossal failure by the prosecution.
And let me remind y'all, you had Gloria Allred and Lisa Bloom out there as well.
She's talking to, she said some shit I saw on CNN. Whenever she comes.
Okay, let me look for another.
Whenever she comes, run the other way.
Yeah, they had her out there. Her daughter was out there.
Yeah.
And
she didn't have nothing to do with the case.
Yeah, and I'm like, I'm sitting there, come on, if they out there, some brother about to get charged with something. There's always a shakedown. And that's, I don't know why nobody called it, but I tell you that Don Lemon, Joy Reid, what's his name? Torrey, and a few others out there was out there. Diddy guilty? He's victimizing women. I'm like, y'all let the case go through. And when the stuff came out, Cassie and them didn't look good. They didn't look good. And like Garagos just said, you tried them on these more serious charges. You still won't let them get out on bail. We know what's up. But, it is what it is, bro. But I really do appreciate you inviting me on your show. It's been a long time, man.
I know. That's why I had to get you on. I'm glad you came, and grateful we got to talk. It's been a while since a lot of people heard your voice, so I want to give you a spot to shine. And everybody that has questions about this, make sure. Why don't you tell everybody where you're at now so they can follow you?
I'm on Fanbase. I've done a lot of live streams on Fanbase. You can find me on Fanbase, Harvey76, lowercase, Harvey 76, and I might start putting some videos back up on Rumble, but Rumble leans to the right, and I don't need no unwanted attention with these how they. I don't need that hassle. Like I said, I don't know if I'm ever gonna get back on YouTube as it costs money to do what I need to do as far as going to court. I think I got a good case, but like I said, I got to come up with $500 something. I don't have an extra $500 just laying around. But if you want to hear me, I'm on Fanbase, Harvey76. Harvey is lowercase. You can, if you like to donate, you can go to Cash App $HL1974. I'm thinking next month I might start back doing live streams like this. It just, like I said, it just finances, everything's costs money nowadays. So I have to pick my balance. But if you really want to find me, I'm at Fanbase. And I hope you guys follow me over there. Subscribe or follow me over there.
Somebody, it looks like, I think Mark Agnafilio is speaking at the press conference now.
Okay.
Let me see if I could. Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, and people can donate to the Cash App, PayPal, or Zelle to support me, support the channel. This is I'm trying to see. Yeah, they got different people who are speaking. I'm trying to find it. Hold on.
Okay.
So I think CBS News has it. Hold on. Nope. Okay, here we go.
All right. I first want to thank
Let me
my
rewind it a
client,
little
Sean.
bit.
Okay.
That's Mark.
It's not a party till we're all here. All right. Thank you all for being patient. Am I speaking loud enough? You all can hear me okay? All right. Today's a great victory. It's a great victory for Sean Combs. It's a great victory for the jury system. You saw that the Southern District of New York prosecutors came at him with all that they had. They're not stopping, but one thing stands between all of us and a prison, and that is a jury of 12 citizens. And we had a wonderful jury. They listened to every word, and they got the situation right, or simply right enough. They acquitted him of the sex trafficking, which he was absolutely innocent of. They acquitted him of the racketeering conspiracy that he was absolutely innocent of, and all of the components to it. The kidnapping, he was innocent of that. The arson, he was innocent of that. The obstructing justice, he was innocent of that. And that is no longer just me saying that. That is the verdict of our jury. So today's a great day. Today is a win. Today is a victory of all victories for Sean Combs and our legal team. And I want to say one thing. There are very few people around whom a legal team could coalesce and become one. And Sean Combs is that person, and we are all blessed to be part of it. And I am now done speaking to you, and I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Garagos.
All right, I first want to thank my client, Sean Combs, for trusting us, myself and everybody here, this incredible dream team that he put together. Without him, we would not have been able to do this. He is incredible, and I want to thank him. I want to thank the jury for putting such great care into this case. They came early every single day, and I want to thank them, as I said in my opening, standing between all of us and the drastic consequences of the criminal convictions of sex trafficking. And Rico is a jury of our peers, and I thank them. I want to thank the judge, and I want to thank, despite the terrible conditions at the MDC, I want to thank the good people who worked there, who ensured that we had sufficient amount of time to prepare for trial. It is extremely difficult to prepare for a federal case in the conditions at the MDC, and they did everything they could to make that happen. I want to thank them. I also have been saying this since the beginning of this case. Sean Combs has not sexually assaulted anybody. I've been saying this for months. We've said it with each lawsuit that came out, and today that was proven true. The media got it wrong about Sean Combs every single day for nearly 2 years. I ask that for every time you guys see a civil lawsuit, criminal complaints or criminal indictments, you actually take a look and analyze these and see whether or not these are actually going to stand up in a court of law, because today they did not. He has not sexually assaulted anybody, certainly hasn't sex trafficked anybody, and the jury found that today. Thank you. I am now going to pass this over to Mr. Steele.
Not Nancy, not the Treasury Secretary.
Good evening. Good evening. I want to thank the ladies and gentlemen to my right and my left. There is not a better group of honest and ethical, hardworking, and zealous lawyers, and I especially wish to thank Mark and Tenny for allowing me and everyone else to come together. On behalf of my family, myself, I wish to thank you all for being here and writing truthfully about a man wrongly charged with most of the crimes, and that we all must remember that allegations are nothing. And I'd like to thank Sean for letting me be here. Thank you all. God bless you.
What did your client want to say when he raised his hand?
Thankfully, in our country, we have a right to a jury trial. And thankfully, Mr. Combs took that right. He actually battled for his freedom for his innocence, he did it. And a lot of times, people are too afraid to do it. And he did it, and we're so happy that he did. We're proud of him. We are completely honored that he put his faith and his trust in us to fight for him. Today is a major win to show what the system can do. We appreciate and we're so thankful to the jury. Thank you to the court. Thank you, New York. It's been a pleasure being here and fighting in your district. Thank you so much. And listen, we appreciate the media. We do. There was a lot of reporting on the accusations. There was a lot of reporting on the indictment. Please report just as vigorously on the acquittal of these counts, please, because that's also the right thing to do. Thank you.
Sure.
We know that ain't gonna happen.
So first of all, I want to thank this wonderful team behind me. I am so happy that they allowed me to join it. I would like to say that I've done a lot of trials, but this is probably the most special one to me. And most importantly, I want everyone to know the job is not done yet. We're not finished. The job is not done yet. And so I want to, again, thank Mark, Tenny, and the rest of these wonderful lawyers behind us. They did a fantastic job. And like those before me have said, our system, the jury system, is important. We need good people to serve on juries. We need good people to come and say a person is not guilty. Take that courage to do that. It's okay. We want you to serve on juries. This particular jury was a special jury. It was fantastic. It listened. It paid attention. It put the nonsense to the side. It put the distraction to the side and came to a lawfully good, just conclusion. Juries are important. Juries are important. But more important than that, I think, is people wanting to be on juries. So for all of you all listening, for all you out there in the public, please accept the call, become a juror, and do the right thing. Thank you very much.
It is such a privilege to be a part of this legal team, this amazing legal team, and to represent Sean Combs. And this is a reminder to everyone, I hope, about the flaws in the criminal justice system, and for everyone to take a second look when the government charges people with crimes, and especially when the Southern District of New York does here. And so I hope everyone takes that seriously. And we take this as an enormous victory and win. This is a huge win. He was acquitted of sex trafficking.
That is a huge win.
It is. And I don't think, and they're right. The media wrote so much salacious crap in the court of public opinion. Diddy is done, regardless if he got cleared on all the charges. He's done. That tape did it in. But when everybody's making jokes about baby oil and alleged things, and the media's running with it and interviewing people they would never have spoken to before, it says something. And I hate this. Well, I guess I don't. But as a black man, I do find it offensive because we're not giving the benefit of the doubt. As soon as we get accused of something, our guilt is already determined. You're guilty until proven innocent. Even if they find you innocent, people are going to say, but what about this? What about that? That jury was not sequestered, if I'm not mistaken. So they had to see all the headlines here, all the crap on TV. In order for them to get through all that, that means they were listening very closely. So that's a rare. That is rare to come across a jury that got that kind of pressure. Because you would have thought they sequestered them or something. But I couldn't find out they didn't, which shocked the hell out of me. So, hey, it says something. That says a lot. And people talking about how much money. I don't care how much money he got. You can't buy your freedom. You can't. You just got to have good lawyers that are thorough and they know how to argue the law. And like I said, when these women's on the stand, it didn't seem credible. And then they pulled out the receipts. You're like, you're not a victim after all. You was a willing participant in that. And my thing is, if he was just a bad dude, At any moment, she could have yelled and said, "Hey, Diddy's doing this to me." When it was on a red carpet, she could have said something like, "I don't want this anymore." And he would have been embarrassed, and people would start looking at him, and they were like, "Wait a minute, what's going on, Diddy? What's going on?" And she could have got out of Dodge. And then the Me Too movement, when everybody was piling on, she could have really got him. But like I said, the federal government sends a video to CNN of all places. You knew the fix was in.
Yeah, there it was, but they didn't get their way.
No.
And anyway, y'all can also support me by going to the Cash App, PayPal, or Zelle. Let's drop something. She said, "I wonder how much they charge." Lots. That's all you got to know. Lots. Yeah, the defense is happy, Spirit, because this was a well-won victory. Yeah, he was facing basically 15 years as a minimum on the Rico charge and the other charges. He would have basically, and they could have compounded it, he would have been virtually given a life sentence.
And I know so well R. Kelly's sitting there like, how the fuck did I get fucked over like this? Because R. Kelly wasn't a well-educated dude. His defense, R. Kelly lawyers screwed him over, basically. And like I said, I'm not condoning what R. Kelly dating a Marion Leah. That's when she was alive, she didn't say nothing. Her family didn't say anything. And
it was a way to go around double jeopardy.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's a way to go around double jeopardy. They didn't like when he went to trial and he was found not guilty. And then you had women. What's her name? The woman that led the charge. They was talking about her early on the news. Not her. The other one. The one that said, "I knew Diddy when he was 19." No, she was 19. He was 20. The one, Dream Hampton. Dream. She's leading the charge on these black men. And like I said, Tawana Burke, Dream Hampton, and others. Look, if you want to go after guys that actually did something, then you go after them. But don't participate in an overkill. Like if they just would have went after Diddy for the stuff they knew they could have proved, then yeah, okay, you got him. You know what I mean? But all this Rico stuff and all this other stuff they was adding on, I mean, it just didn't sound right.
Yeah.
Like he's a mastermind, like, oh, he's Mr. Burns. Excellent. I mean, just come on, man. It just don't make any sense.
It's not Vito Genovese.
Yeah.
That's what those laws were for.
Yeah. Like he's some mastermind. No, Diddy is a freak. He liked to watch his girl get pointed by another dude.
Well, as Johnny Cochran would say, if you can't convict him on a Rico, don't convict him for being a freako.
That was funny. That's funny.
Yeah.
Hey, bro, you know what? Like I said, man, I really enjoy this, and we got to do this again because I know I missed this. I really do. Because, like I said, if you guys want to hear any recent comments, I got like 100. And let me see. Let me look at it right now because it's on the fan base app, and I think I got like 100. Let me see. How many I do? I got 122 posts up at fan base. Because it's going to be Harvey 76, lowercase Harvey, but 76. But you're going to see the Your World, Your View banner, and you'll recognize my voice. So, follow me, subscribe, do whatever you got to do. And I'll be over there. But like I said, I might put a video up on Rumble, but since Rumble leans more to the right, I got to be careful what I say, how I say it, because I don't need Stephen Miller sending ice to my house. I don't need no problems.
Yeah.
I'm
on Rumble too, which is why I tell everybody to go to Rumble and support the channel.
Yeah,
I support free, but I get what you're saying.
Yeah, it's certain topics that I don't feel comfortable talking about. You know what I mean? And I don't need to bring no attention. But like, I still got a Rumble, so eventually I'm gonna go and post on that Rumble. But like I said, if you guys really hankering for hearing my videos or commentaries, I should say, I'm on fan base, so you can go to fan base and look me up and that kind of thing. But yeah, eventually I'll be posting some videos on Rumble again, and there's some things I want to talk about. It may not be so heavy-hearted, but you got to call out this racism from what they doing with that Ironheart thing, man. It backfired on a lot of people. But that's another topic for another discussion.
Yeah. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, please subscribe to Random Topics on Rumble. Donate to the Cash App, PayPal, or Zelle. Go to Fanbase and support Brother Harvey. Donate to his channel, ladies and gentlemen. And we will see you all in the next one. Thank you again for coming on, Harvey. This was a great discussion.
No problem. Thanks for inviting me, brother. You have a good one.
All right. Y'all enjoy the rest of y'all evening, ladies and gentlemen. Likely won't be on tomorrow. As you know, Essence Fest has started, so there's a lot going on Thursday. But we got it in for this week. Enjoy y'all 4th of July. Same to you, Harvey. Eat plenty of ribs and barbecue. I'm out, fam. Peace. Whoever you are, wherever you are, hope you are blessed and doing safe. Ladies and gentlemen, greetings, family. Of course, I'm tuning in. You see me without the glasses off today. But if you're looking for some opportunities, particular advertisement opportunities, then look no further at the link at the bottom to my email address. You can hit me up for advertisement opportunities. We are supporting and promoting your businesses here on this channel. You can also, if you would like to donate and subscribe to our Patreon, a link is at the bottom as well. So you have multiple ways in which you can advertise with the platform by emailing me when we go on through our live stream. You also have access to premium content, those that want to see premium content that you will not find here on YouTube or Facebook or Twitter, as I am suspended probably by now. You guys can check out the Patreon at link at the bottom. But advertisement opportunities, definitely email me, gavin.grich1@gmail.com for rates. And for the Patreon, it is the same as the YouTube channel. It is channel gboot2786. All right, I'll holla. Peace.